hardest sport in the world. I still think it's the hardest sport in the world.
No, absolutely not. And I say this as a fan of tennis and most importantly as a huge fan of Frances Tiafoe, which would make some people think that I should back everything that he says, but I can't do that this time around. Tennis is not mentally the toughest sport there is or the toughest sport there is in general. And I can already hear some of your veins popping just because I said that tennis is not as mentally tough of a sport as it gets portrayed as. But can y'all explain what's uniquely mentally tough about tennis? Well, I expect y'all to say that serving whilst being down 4-5 in a third is difficult, and I would agree with you, but I can't say the same thing about taking a penalty in the dying minutes of a football match, or shooting potential game-winning free throws in a basketball game, and I would say that being clutch in the previously mentioned sports is more difficult because the crowd involvement is a lot more prominent. If the match is on the road for your team, you are done. You basically need to be ready for green lasers being lit right into your eyes, hearing chants that are disrespectful towards you and your team. People are also ready to do anything to distract you. And if you fail, then you've let down not only yourself but also other 10 guys on your team who gave it their all for the win. And now compare those things to tennis, where if a spectator collapses for too long or moves a bit too much during the play, it's considered a war crime and players get all pissy about it. But if you didn't like this point and you want to bring up something like, well, the one-on-one aspect is very challenging and that is why tennis is the toughest sport. Well, I would say that stepping into the ring or into the octagon is a lot tougher than playing tennis, because apart from some freak accident happening, the worst thing that can happen in tennis after a loss is that you'll go cry a bit in the locker room, which is absolutely okay, but not as bad as getting brain damage after getting knocked the fuck out. Also, Francis said that in order to play tennis, your hand-eye coordination has to be incredible, which is 100,000,000% true. Because I genuinely don't understand how tennis players can return serves and play at the net like they do, but again, in a sport like hockey, you also need some incredible hand-eye skills. You need them to redirect shots, for example, or when you are playing near the boards, you have to make the correct split-second decisions, because if you don't, you'll get splattered into the boards. Oh, and by the way, you have to do all of that whilst being on skates, so considering all those factors, again, tennis is not even the toughest sport in that aspect as well. I'll give one thing to tennis though, the length of the match can be unpredictable, but again, it's not like during a 5-hour match they actually play for 5 hours, and if someone like Novak, Rafa, Zverev or Cilic are playing in a long match, you can take off another hour from the actual in-play time just because they bounce the ball for 50 seconds before they actually start playing. But now I want you to listen to this soundbite from the same interview with Tiafoe.
Most tennis players can play golf, can play basketball, can play football, soccer, but a lot of other sports can't play tennis.
And I'm sorry, but this is just stupid. No, tennis players cannot play other sports the same way I cannot say that I can play tennis just because I can hit a ball over the net. Just because you can mindlessly run around the court and make an occasional shot, it doesn't mean that you can play basketball. Just because you can do keepy-uppies and score a goal into an empty net, it doesn't mean that you can play football. And it's disingenuous to act like this is all there is to those sports, but with all that being said, guess what? I'll still enjoy tennis the same way I enjoyed it a day ago, which is before I made this video, because it doesn't matter whether tennis is the toughest or the least tough sport in the world. I'll enjoy it for what it is, and you should too. So with that in mind, until next time, take it easy, my friend.